Live from the NJ.com studio comes the only weekly TV podcast you'll need, where a lofty critic squares off with an obsessed superfan on everything from highbrow drama to lowbrow reality. The cocktail shaker is ready. Prepare for your TV hangover. Now, your hosts, Vicki Hyman and Erin Medley.
Oh, there it is.
Are you sure I can't sing along?
No, I mean, if you'd like to. We're listening. Wow. This is TV Hangover.
I was so excited last night.
And this is our special post-season 6 premiere episode. Season premiere of Game of Thrones, of course, I'm talking about. Vicki and I are both big fans. We both watched the premiere, and we are ready to talk about it and break down some of the more shocking moments from last night's episode.
And some of the more tender, wonderful moments. There were a couple.
Sure. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, at @E_meds, at Vicki High, VICKIHY, and of course, at TV Hangover Show. We also have an email address if you want to email us about Game of Thrones.
Or anything else.
It's TV Hangover Show at NJ.com. All right, Vicki. So we've been waiting, a year for this? Oh, a little less than a year. For the season.
42 weeks.
Wow. Get specific about it. The season premiere of Game of Thrones. People are very excited about this season because this is the point where we're off book.
We are off. Did you read the books?
No, I don't read.
Okay. I did read the books, so I'm super excited here.
Yes, because, I mean, this is the one point where you book people can't hold it over our heads that you know what's going to happen.
Let me just say, I think the book people have been amazingly restrained about really not saying anything. I didn't hear before the Red Wedding. I did not hear a lot of people saying, "Ooh, wait to see what's going to happen next." I did not hear that. I think they just let it happen, and then they were like, "Wasn't that awesome?"
Yes.
Or terrible. Sorry.
True. But the Red Wedding is one thing where I'm sure when you read it in the book, it was great, and you have your imagination. But then when you saw it on the show, it was still probably, spectacular.
It was spectacular.
Yes. So how do you want to break this down? Do you want to just go from the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode, or do you want to start with the big shocking moments?
Let's start with the big shocking moment and go from storyline to storyline.
All right.
Okay. So I guess we should just start with location, Castle Black.
Castle Black.
We are at Castle Black, where Jon Snow
is dead.
I am still holding out hope that Melisandre, however old she is going to rally to the cause.
Yes. So that has been the question since last season's finale, whether or not Jon Snow is really dead. Mm-hmm. And at least in this episode, he is.
He is dead. And I think, we're still holding out the possibility that Melisandre, as a priestess of the Lord of Light, can resurrect the dead, as we saw with Beric Dondarrion and Thoros of Myr, a couple of seasons back. And in the books, I'm just going to go towards the books here. Mm-hmm. Catelyn Stark, after her throat is slit and she's thrown into the river, she basically, I guess she gets washed up or something, but she gets resurrected. Right. And she becomes Lady Stoneheart because she was dead for so long. She had lost some of her memories and stuff, and she is just bent on vengeance. So she's a different person.
Right.
Okay.
But they're not doing Lady Stoneheart.
But I've always thought that maybe Jon Snow would get sort of the Lady Stoneheart treatment. That when they're saying he's dead, they're saying, well, Jon Snow, as you know him, is dead, but he's going to come back as something a little changed.
Right.
That was always my hope. And, it's still there. Are you annoyed that they're stringing this out a little bit longer? They're not just burying the guy or setting him on fire?
No. I'm not annoyed by it at all.
If there's another episode where he's still not either dead or alive, then I'm going to be annoyed.
For me, it would depend, what day it is. This all happened.
This is,
the same day.
Yes.
24-hour period. So right now we're okay. But if we're talking a month later, that's going to be a problem. Exactly. It's Jon Snow is dead and reeking. Mm-hmm. We know that Kit Harington was back on set. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't think it was just to lie on a table or whatever he was doing. So he probably will be back. What form he'll take is what's up
So Sir Davos finds him. He brings him to a chamber. He's with Ed and a couple of other people who are also loyal to Jon. And Sir Alliser is making his plea to the rest of the Night's Watch, saying, "I had to do it. I've never disobeyed a command." But he is destroying the Night's Watch.
Right.
So he had to be killed. I did it.
He let the wildlings in, and
yes,
while they did whatever they did, raped and pillaged and blah 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 blah.
That's
I was
better,
like tuning him out.
It's better than the zombies,
right?
Although he didn't mention the zombies because he never saw the zombies. And by the way, I loved seeing the images from Hard Home again in the scenes from previously, because that was such a good episode.
Yeah. No, that was a good episode.
So we have Jon locked up with Davos and a few other people. Ed leaves because he knows that Jon has saved other lives. Presumably, he's going to be getting some of the wildlings. What's his name?
The scruffy one?
Yeah,
I don't know what his name is. I'm not good with names. Too many names on the show.
Supposedly, he's going to be getting Tormund Giantsbane, or I mean, I assume that's what they're talking about. So, and Sir Davos like, well, we should also consider the Red Woman. They're like, well, what can she do against 40 armed men? He's like, you haven't seen what this lady can do.
Right. You also haven't seen her without her necklace.
Yes. And so we go to her chamber, and there's a mirror there,
yeah,
and she's looking at herself. And I have to say, one thing I really enjoyed about this entire episode is seeing her look defeated and vulnerable, which we've never seen her look before, and her face just completely changes.
Don't you think we saw a little of that toward the end of last season?
Yes, the very end of last season. Very, very end, when she comes back and she just looks at Davos.
Can I tell you what I did not enjoy seeing in that scene? What? Her naked body. I'm over it.
The new one or the old one?
Both.
Well, it was like when she starts undressing, I'm like, oh, we're going to find her miracle breasts again. Here are Lady Melisandre's wonder boobs.
The best boobs
that
on
can
TV.
Do anything and convince anybody of anything.
Yes. I mean, they're pretty nice boobs, I will say, but I'm tired of seeing them.
I was starting to yawn, like, oh, this again.
Right. I feel like I've become the old lady, like, who's just like, there's too much nudity on this HBO. Like, can we have one HBO show where someone's
too much
not
nudity
naked?
on the HBO?
Yes.
So then I really like the way they did it. They show you in this very dim mirror, and you see this white hair, and then it pans to Melisandre, and she's like, I don't know.
How old do you think she is?
I don't know. I mean, like, there comes a point where after you're 100, where I think you could be 100 or 500 or 1,000.
And
you
really still look pretty bad. No, she looks like she's 1,000 years old.
I was wondering, it's like, is her exact age going to be a plot point where we're going to be able to trace her back to, the conquest of Westeros? I mean, like, where she's going to be going back. We're going to go back at some point to the very beginning of, like, where she became.
Maybe that's how she knows who's supposed to be on the throne.
Yes, maybe. And she, she's seen a lot of stuff that has come true.
Right.
She's done a lot of really good magic.
But do you think it's because she has the history? It's not just the magic. She's been around so long that she sort of can see the future in that way. I mean, there's magic involved, obviously, but
I don't know exactly what they're getting at with. I just don't know if her age is going to be important. I mean, she hasn't interacted with a lot of the main characters in the show, other than people like Castle Black and Stannis, and so it's not like she could have been like a Zelig-like character or Forrest Gump-like character. For those of you who don't like Woody Allen, and like it's been at different, various important moments of history.
What if it's the other way around? What if she is from the future? Look, bear with me.
Okay.
What if she's super old, but in the future she's super old, and then she goes back to this current time in Westeros and the Wall and all that good stuff, and she has to make herself look younger, obviously, or else she'd stand out, and that's how she knows about the future.
So basically, you're asking us to accept time travel as part of this universe.
Excuse me, Outlander.
No, I'm just saying that I don't think at this late date they would change the rules like that. I think that she basically has some sort of like the necklace lets her glamour herself into appearing to be somebody. The one thing, somebody young. The one thing I had a question about was when she took off the necklace and she climbed into bed. Okay. She seemed very defeated. I was wondering if she's saying like, screw this world, I'm just going to go into bed and die. You don't think
I didn't get that. I think it was very similar to when Viola Davis took off her makeup on How to Get Away with Murder.
Okay.
staring at herself in the mirror.
Do you think that she takes off her necklace pretty much when she's not sleeping with somebody else and gets into bed?
That's what I said, and I was speaking to one of our coworkers, and she doesn't think that's the case. She thinks this is like the first time she's taken off the necklace. And I'm like, look, when I get home, I take off my bra, and then when I'm ready to go to bed, you know what I'm saying, right, Vicki? And then when I'm ready to go to bed, I put on my headscarf, and it's like, it is full on, like, I look beat. And that is kind of like how Melisandre was like, I'm going to get comfortable, I'm going to bed. I think she does this all the time.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Ladies, tweet us. You know what we're talking about. So that was like the big reveal at the end of the episode. But let's go back a little bit and talk about my new favorite duo, Sansa and
Theon.
I was going to call him Reek.
Yeah.
But yes, Theon.
That whole storyline had my favorite scene of the entire episode.
Which was?
Okay, so Theon and Sansa obviously survived the jump. They are being chased by the hounds. And of course, there was a lovely father-son scene with Roose and Ramsay, where it's basically like, well, you let Sansa escape, and she's our key to holding the North, so you got to find her. 'Cause otherwise, I really hope that my wife's pregnant with a boy. You know what that means. So, Theon and Sansa are escaping, and they think they've lost the hounds, and they hear the hounds again. And Theon's going to go save himself, and it lasts I don't know, 20 seconds,
right? And
then they find Sansa, and then out of nowhere, Brienne of Tarth,
here she comes.
Who spent how many episodes last season sitting at that godforsaken window, waiting for the candle, looking at Winterfell? I mean, like what, 3 episodes?
Oh my gosh!
Oh my god!
I'd almost forgotten about Brienne. I was just like, what? Who's the knight in shining armor?
Oh my god! Thank God.
Riding up.
And I know that it's like, oh, how very convenient that she shows up just then, but I didn't care.
Me neither.
I didn't care. I was glad that Podrick, had his little moment. He was also fighting. He wasn't as goofy as he used to be.
Right.
Okay.
He's grown up on the road.
He really has. And so obviously Brienne and Podrick managed to defeat the Bolton men, and I don't know what happened to the dogs, but they're apparently gone.
Right.
And then Sansa gets up, and Brienne pledges herself to Sansa once again, and Sansa accepts her, and then she couldn't remember all the words.
She couldn't remember the lines.
Podrick helps her out, and I'm telling you, Sansa and
No.
Podrick, yes. There has to be a reason why all this time we've had all these stories about how wonderful Podrick is in bed and how he's a ladies' man. Sansa deserves Podrick.
I think
after all that,
you don't think it's going to be Sansa and Theon?
No, I don't think so. I think they're really brother and sister. Yeah, I think they're brother and sister.
Oh, that's true.
I'm Sansa and Podrick. Podrick will be elevated to a knight, and they will get married and have lots of wonderful children. And I'm very excited.
But they will not rule the throne.
No, I don't think. I think Sansa has had her fill of that.
That's true.
Yes, just let her sit in Winterfell, because I think she is the oldest child now.
Well, yes,
Rob's
because
gone.
Jon Snow doesn't count.
Yeah, Jon Snow doesn't count, so it would be her.
Yeah.
So I think she and Podrick should rule Winterfell.
Didn't they have a brother? Not Bran. Didn't they have another
Rickon,
brother?
the youngest one.
Where
who's
is he?
He's on the Isle of Skagos or something.
Oh, okay.
Osha or Asha. That was the wildling girl who was taken in, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they were wandering around with Hodor and Bran, and then they split off at one point.
Oh, okay.
And she took him to be sheltered somewhere. I'm hoping he comes back at some point. And the funny thing is that when we last saw him, he basically looked like a little kid. And of course, as we know, Bran has grown up.
Right.
Bran
does not look like a little kid anymore.
And so it'd be really funny to see.
Although we didn't see
Rickon.
Bran last night.
We didn't. It was funny. I really loved the episode, and I felt very satisfied with it for the most part. And at the end, I was like, oh, but we didn't see Bronn, and we didn't see Bran, and we didn't see... and I was just like...
It's like, well, did we need to? Oh, you know who we also didn't see? Peter Baelish.
We didn't see Littlefinger? No. And he's probably the most confounding character on the show. Yes, obviously he's trying to plot for him to take over the Iron Throne, or at least him to be the power behind the throne.
Right.
But it's it's so labyrinthine, everything he's had his hand in the entire time. It's to figure out exactly what he wants and how he's going to get it.
Or his motivations. Because sometimes I'm just like, what is it? What?
Yes. Did he truly love Catelyn? And, does he love Sansa now?
He definitely does not love Sansa. That's, creepy McCreepster. Let's talk about everyone's favorite Mother of Dragons and 10 millions of other titles according to Khal.
Yes.
What was his name? Khal
Morrow.
Morrow. Yes. So we know that she's with the What are those people called again?
The Dothraki.
Dothraki, right?
Dothraki.
That they kidnapped her.
Yeah, that one of the Khalazars saw her and picked her up and brought her back to Khal Morn. Now I have to say, I know there are a lot of Khalazars. I know there are a lot of Khals, and they kill each other all the time. But the fact that nobody would recognize her, and she said she was Queen of the Great Grass Sea.
Right.
She's got white hair and purple eyes, and
but when would they have seen her?
He knew who Drogo was, and so why would he not have known who this woman is?
I don't know. What do you think? There's Facebook. Like
I don't know.
How would they know what she looks like?
I mean, everybody in Essos knows the Mother of Dragons, like the priest and the priestess of Ripple.
They know the name, the Mother of Dragons.
Yeah,
they don't know what she looks like.
I think she's pretty distinctive looking. I haven't seen any albinos.
No, I agree.
In Essos.
No, I completely agree with you that she's distinctive looking. But if you've never seen her, you wouldn't know that.
Well, but I think they would have heard there's a woman with white hair and purple eyes who rides on dragons, who took over 3 cities, in Slaver's Bay. And then she finally name drops Drogo. It's like, oh, dude, yeah.
Right. But then in name dropping him, she got herself into even more trouble because apparently there's some place where the widows of Khals go to
live out their days and play canasta.
Yes.
It doesn't sound so bad.
It's the Jewish Community Center.
Yes. The JCC of Vates Dothrak. Could happen.
So we didn't see her actually get taken to that place.
We didn't see her get taken to the place yet. No.
Yet.
One thing that really annoyed me at the end of last season was when all the horde of Dothraki people circle her and she drops her ring in the middle of the thing. And I was like, oh, that is just BS. It's like they're going to find her because she dropped her ring in the... Right. And then I was glad when they showed Dario and Jorah coming up and they see this big brown circle from where the horde had gone around, and they go to the center of the circle and they find her. It's like, okay, fine.
Now it makes sense.
Fair enough.
Tracking.
Fair enough.
This is how you find animals in the wild.
I was happy. I was happy they explained that.
Yeah, well, what's the thing with his arm?
He's got grayscale.
Grayscale, right? That kills you eventually.
Well, it turns you into a stone man.
Right.
I guess eventually it does kill you. Sometimes they kill you first. Sometimes other people kill you first because you can catch it.
Now, let me tell you something. Two worlds colliding. I'm seeing some great similarities and parallels between Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead, which I've been watching.
Yeah, how far are you in now?
I'm season 3, episode 7.
Oh my god.
I know. So now every time we're talking, I have to make sure I'm thinking of the right thing, but it's like becoming a zombie, basically.
The Stoneman is not exactly like becoming a zombie. I think the White Walkers are like becoming a zombie, except you can be controlled by the Night's King when you're a White Walker. The Stonemen, they don't really tell you a lot about the Stonemen, like what happens when your whole body is taken over by the Grayscale. We saw them when Jorah and Tyrion were going to Marine in the first place, and they dropped into the boats. And I mean, I honestly, I don't know much about them. You don't know much about them in the books either, other than, you stay away from them.
Right.
And that's where they get exiled too. And they don't kill you.
Well,
yeah, but it's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing at all.
Jorah is doomed.
Oh, poor Jorah. He's been doomed from the beginning, let's be honest.
And I liked his conversation with Dario about Dario's like, oh, you're a great, romantic, and I see myself, that's how I see myself one day. And
old
he's
guy.
Like, if you make it that far. And then he looks at his grayscale.
That's old shaming.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of Daenerys, we did see Tyrion and
yes, Varys. That was one of my least favorite. I have to tell you, Marine is exhausting me. They've been in Marine for way too long. There's still a Marine in George R.R. Martin's books. I understand it was trying to be an object lesson to see how difficult it is to conquer versus to rule, that sort of thing.
And we saw that numerous times.
Yes, we saw it numerous times. And I always like seeing like a little Tyrion and Varys like trading their barbs and everything, but it's like exhausting already. We got to figure out who the Son of the Harpy's head is. Okay, fine. I'm excited to find out who's the head of the Son of the Harpy. It's going to be somebody we don't know probably, because we know everybody else.
Now,
and then what? Just leave
the fire. Because I was sort of paying attention, sort of not paying attention.
Okay.
I know. Look, I my attention span is short. This is why I don't read. And I thought last night's episode was fine. I wasn't like over the moon about it. I thought it was fine. It's Game of Thrones. It's always good, but it didn't
Not
really
true.
hold.
Sometimes it just there's just not enough happening, and that was not a problem last night. There was a lot of stuff happening.
I think there was a lot of catching up, but I don't think a lot.
No, there was definitely movement forward, especially when we get to Dorne. We can discuss that.
Which place is that?
That's Prince Doran and Ilaria Sand and the Sand Snakes and oh my God, hello.
Oh, the Sand Snakes.
The Sand Snakes.
The women, but yes.
Okay.
The fire.
So the fire, apparently what it seems to me, the Sons of the Harpy set fire to all the ships in the Marinese Harbor, so they can't leave.
Oh, that was the harbor that was on
that was
fire?
The harbor,
I know they
it was all
mentioned
the
it, but
ships
to
in the
me it
harbor.
didn't look like... It looked like very bad CGI.
It wasn't great.
It wasn't good.
It wasn't great, no.
Okay, maybe that's why I was confused, because I know they said harbor, but then I was like, but is that the town on fire? Like, what is that?
So it's like, are they still going to be stuck in Marine for another season? They can't leave. They can't, like, board ships and try to...
They can board dragons, though.
There's only 3 dragons. Well, we don't know what happened to one of them.
That's true. All right, well, let's go to Dorne.
That was my least favorite part, probably.
I agree. Let's go to Dorne.
Okay.
Also, I don't care about this either. The Sand Snake ladies.
Okay, well, it's in the books too. They introduce the Dornish characters late, and apparently they're gearing up to be, a big part of what happens going forward, because we have Jaime and Cersei together again, ready to avenge Myrcella, which makes me sad because I've always seen Jaime and Brienne together, as everybody does.
Yes.
And I really thought that Jaime had grown a lot as a character and started realizing, oh, this is kind of sick what I'm doing with my sister.
Right.
And she's kind of a bitch.
She is.
And other words that I'll have to spell out here.
Because...
Why? Yeah. Another horrible word.
Yes. I know
yes.
which word. Oh, yeah. No, that word we would never say.
Really horrible word. I have to give credit to Lena Headey. And I think also, I guess just to Lena Headey, because what I love about Game of Thrones is that you take characters who are just awful and horrible and completely unredeemable, and then you can still feel sympathy for them and sorry for them. I felt a little bit on Cersei's walk of shame, not too much because I know she's horrible.
She is.
But when I saw her, she runs down to the harbor when she sees Jaime and she thinks Myrcella coming up into the harbor, and you see her face crumple when she sees it's Jaime, and I guess a casket behind him.
Right.
I couldn't exactly tell.
I couldn't tell either. I didn't know how she knew that there was something not good, but maybe it's the fact that he was just by himself anyway.
Yeah, it was. Kudos, Lena Headey.
I guess it's hard for me to feel any sympathy for Cersei.
So I did think it was strange, though, when we're talking about time and how much time has passed, that I'm presuming it takes at least a few days to get from Dorne back to King's Landing.
Right.
And in the meantime, we've had maybe one day at Castle Black. Maybe one day. And yet the Dothraki managed to take Daenerys from just north of Marine somewhere to the Great Grass Sea, by foot.
Right.
And in Dorne, Myrcella had seemed to have died not long after leaving Dorne.
Right.
Like, within a couple of hours, it seemed like to me. I don't know why he didn't just turn around and just start killing people back then, but he goes all the way to King's Landing.
But he only has the one hand.
Yes. Tristane's on the boat. Tristane stays on the boat. And then suddenly, the 2 Sand Snakes, who are back at the harbor saying goodbye to them, are on the boat with Tristane, killing him.
Right.
It was very
a
strange
little weird
time-wise.
Yeah, the timing was a little odd. But I am not interested in the Sand Snake women at all. But I think if you say they're going to play a bigger role, then maybe I'll start.
They have to. I mean, like
I'll start paying attention.
Did you not like it? I did like the scene where Ilaria is taking a nice walk through the water gardens with Prince Doran, who has gout, so it's difficult for him to walk. I feel for him. My feet hurt too sometimes. He sits back down in the wheelchair, and then he gets the Raven's message from King's Landing saying that Myrcella is dead before you can know it. Tyene, I think, is the one who stabs Hota, his guard. The other guards are not doing anything at all.
Oh, no, they're just standing there watching.
Which is very interesting. So apparently Ilaria was right when she says, you do not represent Dorne. You're not a Dornish man.
Right.
And, oh, God, what was his line about how Dorne will never be ruled by weak men again? Which I thought was kind of cool.
Right. No, I thought that scene was great. It said a lot about him as a leader, but I didn't care. Okay. I'm just not into that storyline at all. I never have been. I don't think I will unless they, cross paths with.
I think they're gonna. I think there's gonna be some major Dornish Lannister action going on. I mean, there's got to be something, and the Tyrells are caught in the middle.
Oh, the Tyrells.
Speaking of which, I mean, like, what was the point of just Marjorie's still in the dungeon?
Still in the dungeon, calling for her brother instead of her husband.
Which I thought was interesting.
I thought that was interesting, too. And I think so did the nun lady or whatever she is.
Yeah, Septa Unella, who's a bit overzealous.
She is.
In her administration.
She is.
Shame.
Anyone who's gone to Catholic school, you know about those nuns and their overzealousness.
Yeah. I kind of was annoyed by that one scene because it didn't really move the plot forward at all for anybody, and it took time away from something. I would have loved to see Bran again.
Right.
I would love to see a lot of things again.
I read before this season started that in the premiere you're not going to see all the characters.
Yeah,
we saw most of them.
We did not need to see Marjorie.
I agree, because nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
I mean, unless there's something that we're supposed to pick up on that we didn't pick up on.
Maybe that she's going to be coming around to making some sort of confession, which, I mean, that's what you have to do to get out of there anyway.
Right. And then do the walk of shame.
Yeah. Well, I thought actually when he came in and said that the king is, really, has been missing you and wants you out, that I thought he was going to say, I'm going to let you out.
Right.
I'm always been very interested in Marjorie, sort of like a budding Cersei, but a little smarter, because Cersei has not really been the best leader.
Right.
That's putting it mildly. She's been a terrible leader.
Yes.
She's been terrible. I think Marjorie has much better political instincts than she does.
And she also has a better personality, even though she is also bitch.
Yes. She's very fake.
Correct. But people are falling for it.
Yeah.
What else happened? Was that it? Did we cover all the characters?
I think we did.
So did you watch the preview for next week? I didn't watch it.
I didn't actually. Okay. As soon as it was over, I did my sort of recap
at NJ.com.
At NJ.com
/entertainment.
Jon Snow is dead.
So where do you think we're going for this season? I mean, again, we're off book at this point. We still have probably 2 more seasons to go, 7 and 8. What do you think is going to happen? Let's make some bold predictions.
Oh my goodness. Well, as I'm saying, there's going to be some. I think it's going to be in the Martells of Dorne. And the Lannisters, they're gearing up for some sort of major battle. We've got to get Dany out of Meereen. We've got to make this happen. I cannot deal with another season of them trying to rule this godforsaken city.
Dany has been wandering around for 4 seasons at this point.
She's been in Meereen for 2 seasons now.
I know, but I'm just saying I feel like she started out as such a great character season 1, a little bit of season 2, and then after that, to me, she's just sort of been wandering aimlessly, and we're on Dany's journey to becoming a leader, and it's a little boring at times. It gets stale.
It does. It's gotten very stale. It's my biggest pet peeve about Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
it's just the wasting of Dany in Meereen.
I agree. You know who we didn't talk about?
What?
Arya.
Oh, that's right. Well, there really wasn't much with Arya. That was okay, did we really need that? She's blind because she killed, I was going to say Mance Rayder, but that's not him. Meryn Trant. When she took a life she wasn't supposed to. She took a life that was not hers to take. And so Jaqen H'ghar, took away her eyesight. Now she's a beggar. I thought it was interesting. You heard her listening. And you heard interesting snippets of conversation. So I was wondering, is she just using her training to the only currency she has right now is her information, or is she working for the Faceless Men? They put her in place as a beggar, and then the waif just came up and was trying to make sure she's still keeping up her
No,
skills.
I think her being blind is definitely still part of her training.
Okay,
I think she's still being trained.
So she's still part of the Faceless Men.
Yes.
Okay,
and I don't think she'll be blind permanently.
No.
Yeah, so I think this is all part of her training to get her to listen more and to,
talk
focus.
Less. Smile more.
Oh my gosh, it's a Hamilton reference. We're making so many crossovers today. So here's what I think will happen this season. I have no idea, and I like it that way. That's it.
Okay.
I have no idea, and I like it that way. I don't want to speculate. I just want to move through the season, see where it takes me. We get 10 episodes, right? So we're down 1. I'm sure there will be at least 1 or 2 shocking deaths, because I don't think any of the deaths last night were, terribly shocking.
I think maybe Doran could have been seen as somewhat shocking if we just didn't spend enough time with him. In the books, you spend more time down there.
Oh, okay.
Although I don't think he gets killed in the books.
I do think it was shocking how you thought he was going to fight the one sand woman, and the other one just stabbed him through the neck.
Well, you know, I mean, like I did appreciate the little bits of humor that they had in there, and like even though the guy got a spear through his head, it was still a little funny when Nymeria was like, "You greedy bitch."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And actually, my other favorite moment was when Cal Morrow was arguing with the people about what's the best in the world. Oh, it is taming a wild stallion.
Yes.
No, it is killing another cow.
Yes. He's like,
okay,
what are my top 5 things in the
okay,
world?
peeps. The one thing I after I saw how old Melisandre was, and remember I was talking about like maybe she's been at like different parts of history, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking I'm hoping that we actually do get a flashback to what started Robert's Rebellion. Lyanna and Rhaegar. Did Rhaegar kidnap Lyanna? Were they in love?
And
Is
Lyanna
Jon Snow
and
their
Rhaegar
child?
Targaryen are who we believe are the parents of Jon Snow.
I think it would be really interesting if we spend like an episode going back and seeing that, and maybe Melisandre's there. Maybe, you know, like just in getting the definitive. I think we have to have the definitive story about what happened there, and I think that's going to be important in who eventually lands on the Iron Throne.
And it's not strange for Game of Thrones to do a flashback episode because we've got those.
I remember actually the only one I could think of was Cersei and Maggie the Frog, which I thought was very effective. The one who gave her the prophecy that she was going to lose all 3 of her children.
Right.
Uh-oh, Tommen.
Uh-oh. Not good times for Tommen.
Yeah, I did not miss Tommen at all, actually.
No. I mean, he's a
I missed
wet
her
noodle.
Pounce, his cat.
Oh. Wow.
In the books, at least. I can't remember.
I don't think we have a cat on the show.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this wrap-up of the season premiere of Game of Thrones. I wanted to talk about Veep, but I did not watch it. I fell asleep.
I watched the first 3 episodes on screeners. And actually, I came back and watched, after skipping most of Silicon Valley last season. Loved the first season, just didn't really get into the second season. I watched the 3rd season premiere, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
So are you going to go back and watch?
I'm going back. I'm watching, because now my Sundays feel wide open and free.
For now. Yeah. Who knows what will happen in the future. So we will be back next Wednesday at our regularly scheduled time for more TV talk. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at TV Hangover Show, at @E_meds, and at Vicki Hy, VICKIHY. Rate us on iTunes and all those other places, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker.
All those words that I pretend like I know what they are.
Yes. Well, until next week, we'll be watching Game of Thrones and talking about it.